Wonderful. So I'm thrilled to have with me today, as Tom mentioned, Charlie Weiss, who is the VP of Ad Marketplaces at News Corp. Charlie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. And as Tom mentioned, we do have very exciting news today, a very, very exciting announcement. Yes, we are super stoked. So can I say?
You can go first. Yeah.
I mean,
It's coming. Yeah, just go. You go.
So we did announce this morning that in addition to launching an expanded commercial relationship with News Corp on a global basis, News Corp has also made a $10 million strategic investment in AppNexus.
That's correct.
And you are now an investor in the company.
I know. And the first thing we did was pay for this, so it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll go part of the way.
Okay, we'll go half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Summits don't, pay for themselves.
Okay.
But no, I mean, we really are so thrilled to be expanding the partnership with News Corp. Obviously, you've heard today so much of where we're driving with AppNexus, with the tools and capabilities we're bringing to market. And News Corp is, in our view, a perfect example of an amazing publisher with incredible talent and content and assets that is really driving toward innovating and transforming its business. So we're appreciative, we're excited, and it's great to have you on board.
Thank you. It's great to be on board. And I first got to know your products, I think, through YieldX when I was a Yield guy a lifetime ago. And it was a great product, and it was a great acquisition you guys made. And kind of my role is a bit global. We first started using you guys in Australia, and I've been living in London. And more conversations I had with people at AppNexus, the more and more it's like, okay, these guys are thinking in a similar fashion how News Corp wants to build their business. So when I came back, it was evident that this was a company we wanted to do business with. How do we do more together? And as the partnership grew, an investment made sense. Because while we're very good at creating content, the ability to augment that with technology is something we're very passionate about. That's why I have a job. So you guys check a lot of the boxes that we're looking to build over the next 5 and 10 years.
That's great. I want to talk more about that. As you guys think about investing in new capabilities in the company versus investing in companies versus acquiring companies. I mean, you obviously acquired Unruly, which has been a technology asset inside News Corp. How do you make those decisions?
Well, it depends on what we're trying to build. So at the end of the day, News Corp's goal is to create content that's essential for the world. That's it. And to find the best way to monetize it, be it through advertising, be it through subscriptions, be it through buying real estate assets. So sometimes it's a full acquisition of a company like Realtor.com, which we did in 2014, and kind of adding that to our portfolio of assets, where if you think of how newspapers used to make money, it would be the classified sections, and the classified sections went online, so we bought Realtor.com and integrated that in. With Unruly, when we looked at our UK footprint, it was like, okay, what do we need? What's the shot in the arm that we need? And it was all around video and tech. And it was another thing that started off like our partnership, where we initially did a partnership with Unruly. And as we got further and further along, it's like this made sense as a bolt-on. This is a product we need to own. And it's looking for those types of investments that either plug in and help us grow our news and real estate and book publishing or whatever other businesses we have. But it's also technology that kind of sees the world the same way we do.
Yeah, and that's great. And also, just for the benefit of the audience here, one part of the partnership that we talked about publicly is enhanced collaboration also between AppNexus and Unruly, which is interesting as well. So it's not just the work we have done with Wall Street Journal and others around the world, but we started collaborating earlier this summer with Unruly on building an outstream marketplace.
Yes.
We're now working together to build a open marketplace for vertical video, which is fantastic, exciting growth area for mobile. A lot of opportunity there.
Huge opportunity there, especially around the vertical video space. It's something that we're very bullish on. We look at what Snapchat's done. We think there's definitely room in the market for other competitors to vertical video.
Cool. One point of clarification also, many of you may read, there's some articles out today, and it says $31 million from partners, and I mentioned that there's $10 million investment coming in from News Corp. through some diligent reporting, it was also reported this morning that part of this strategic investment in AppNexus came from Yahoo Japan, which is another very exciting partnership for us. I think obviously the Yahoo brand has a lot of baggage and a lot of meaning here in the market. Yahoo Japan is an absolutely phenomenal company in the Japanese market, and is going to be a major help to us as we grow our business throughout Japan and Asia, which has been a well-known area of focus and growth for us. So we're very excited to have them on board. And in addition to yesterday's announcement about our deepened partnership with LinkedIn, where LinkedIn will be selling programmatically through AppNexus and Google, this has been a really great week for us. We set out to build this technology stack that would help publishers to do better. And obviously we're hearing about what's happening around header bidding. How are you thinking about, as a former yield guy as yourself, adopting new techniques, things like header bidding, in order to squeeze more revenue and better yield out of your inventory?
Yeah, I think it's more about creating a fair and equal marketplace where we have certain partners we work with, and if I were to dive into their margins, it wouldn't be something that I would like to see. And the more and more deals we did when we started this, it was all the private marketplace deals and how we do more around PMPs. And I feel a tag-based deal or a header script has kind of replaced that, or it's on the way to replacing that. So as we look to how many partners we can implement via header bidding, we made it that we have to do this, not only to increase our revenue, but we view this as a future or forward-thinking way of doing business in the programmatic space. But it's also, how do you use a header tag to best manage page performance and best manage the number of partners? So that way, from a corporate perspective, I know that the page performance on Realtor.com is just as good as the New York Post. And that's why we really embrace the technology, first for that, and second for demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about, obviously, News, with your phenomenal premium properties worldwide, is known for its premium direct sales force and efforts. How do you think about those and where they're heading relative to the programmatic channel inside News?
Whew, it's not a softball. So I think there's definitely a place for both of them. I think the idea of what a traditional sales rep carries in their bag is very different. It's very different today than it was 3 years ago, and 3 years from now it'll be unrecognizable. Where we really need to get to a model where we're doing either very high-touch deals around data, high-touch deals around an upfront commitment for media and data, or things that just are in the native space. But the idea of us building a sales team to go out and get $50,000 IOs for 300 by 250 banners, it's not there. It's not something we're going to be building towards. It's really having a new type of salesperson now and in the future that can sell the brand of the Wall Street Journal, the brand of the New York Post. And if that's programmatic, if it's print, if it's wherever, they need to be able to talk to all these points. So the sales rep of the future looks very different than it does today.
Mm-hmm. One of the features of your company, which is similar to a number of our other clients and friends in the audience, is you have this interesting balance between what you do at the corporate level and what you do at the business unit model. There's sort of this federal state type model.
That's a polite way of putting it, yeah, federal and state. So News Corp essentially acts as a holding company. And in that holding company, we have news and information service assets, we have real estate assets. A lot of people don't know this, but we're actually the largest online property portal in the world. I'm not here to plug News Corp or 137 million uniques in 3 different continents. I'm not here to give a News Corp plug. But from the corporate level, we look for partnerships that have synergies across all of our businesses, which are incredibly diverse. So it's an interesting place to sit in.
How is that balance shifting, though, between what happens on a decentralized basis and a centralized basis? It seems like, having autonomy at the business unit level is so critical, and yet a lot of big investments, especially if you're trying to build a media company of the future that can compete with, whoever is out there taking 50% plus of the dollars in the marketplace, as Tom teed up earlier. How do you make deep investments deep enough to move the needle?
It has to be something that has synergies with our present businesses, right? So selling a real estate audience is in synergy with selling a news audience, right? It's both creating an experience or content that's essential to the user. I think it's really either looking at businesses or investments that are tuck-ins, like Unruly was something that enhanced our advertising, and Realtor.com was something that changed our business and how we work. So it's very difficult. There's no right answer. And there's no right answer for how the media company of the future evolves, right? I mean, I was thinking before this about our competitive space and who we compete with. And, in part, of course, it's the New York Times, it's Time Inc., it's the FT, it's all the typical people, but at the same time, we compete with Zillow, and we compete with Trulia, and we compete with Zoopla in the UK. And then I look at book publishing, we compete with Simon & Schuster, and we just have a very diverse range of assets that I think for a media company to grow and evolve, it's not all just advertising, or it's not all just subscriptions. It's a very diverse model for how we make revenue. And when we look at acquisitions, it's something that feeds that model, but there's no playbook for what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing, except investing in AppNexus. That was that was right out of the playbook.
I think one of the cool things about your vantage point is you not only get to see into what's happening across so many different types of assets inside the news umbrella, but also news being a global company,
yes,
you get to see how different markets are evolving as well.
Absolutely.
You yourself went and spent, 6 months in the UK? Or?
7 months in the UK, and then the Queen kicked me out. Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. Yeah, couldn't spend any more 7. After you.
No, what do you see? What do you see? What are they doing in the UK better than what we're doing here in the US and vice versa?
I think the big thing in the UK is that you'd walk into meetings with agencies or other people, that marketers, they want us to win. They're rooting for News Corp or for a great digital alternative to kind of what's developed here. So I think we had a leg up in that we had great brands and great relationships, and there's a lot of pride in trying to keep UK dollars growing and UK-funded companies being successful, especially around technology and media. I think you go down to Australia, it's a very different market in terms of data use. For us, that represents a competitive advantage since we're third in size and scale compared to Facebook and Google. So if you go down to that market, okay, it's very different because our data, even if it's bland, is actually a tremendous asset. So it's very interesting what's going on in those markets. I think the period for disruption or for a few other players to emerge in a few select markets, be it the UK, Australia, a few other ones I could list, I think there's a real opportunity there, which was why we did the Unruly investment.
Got it.
Acquisition.
Understood.
Yeah.
We talked about innovation earlier and how media companies like News Corp can push into innovation. Mm-hmm. There was a story this week talking about some initiatives around content recommendations.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
So, as our sites become less and less destinations, which is something we need to get back, how do we keep more users on our sites longer? And we have our dedicated user base, that's a subscribed user base, but for a lot of our users, they come in, they read one article, they go. So we've been doing a lot in the content recommendation space and kind of looking at you guys, and how can your technology help keep users on the Wall Street Journal longer, or keep users on MarketWatch.com longer? So it's definitely something interesting in that space, as well as new formats, right? So while everyone here has made a good amount of money off display banners, I think that if it's not already a commoditized format, it's getting there very quickly. And being able to expand to either native formats or high impact or things that are just perform better for your unique environment is something we're going to be investing in the next 3 years.
Okay, so a year ago, I think it was Ryan who said earlier, a year ago we weren't even talking about header bidding at conferences like this, unless it was, what the heck is header bidding? A year from now, we're sitting on this stage. What are we talking about? What's the big topic of discussion that we're not talking enough about today?
Gosh. I think artificial intelligence. I think how that can be used in your business, in your newsroom, and messaging, I think, is a big topic that we're talking about. I think ad blocking, we're still talking about it. There's still conferences about it.
Do you think it'll be worse or better a year from now?
Worse, definitely. If you haven't installed an ad blocker, and I'm not condoning installing an ad blocker, it's a very easy thing to do. And it's on us and people in the industry and people like AppNexus to serve people ads that they don't want to be blocked. And it's also on us to figure out, okay, there's a trade-off in advertising for content, and to make that known to the consumer, that the choice is, okay, you can either have no ads and you pay us $10 a month, or you don't pay us any money and you have all the ads you want, or don't want. And it's figuring out those types of choices with the consumer, but it's still a big issue. And transparency, I think, is something we're going to keep talking about more and more.
Transparency on the?
Transparency on every dollar that comes out of a CMO's pocket and where it ends up.
Fantastic. Well, Charlie, we, again, could not be more thrilled to be deepening our strategic partnership with News Corp. Thank you so much for attending today. Thank you so much for being a supporter of AppNexus.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to many exciting things on the road ahead.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you all.
Thank you.